What I wanted to do today is provide you with an honest Florida real estate market update and how to plan ahead as much as one can plan ahead in an environment that is very much in flux right now. Even though I'm on a road trip in Charleston, I never stop tracking the Florida market. In this video, we're going to get into statewide numbers. We're going to look at the single family home and the condo market specifically. We're going to talk about homeowners insurance costs and where that may be headed in the future. And that's an important one, right? Because it can really eat into your budget. And then certainly the situation right now in Iran. How could it impact the Florida housing market in the future? A lot of you out there are saying that the Florida housing market is crashing. Is that true? So what I wanted to start off with is hardcore data first. That's just going to kind of help us set the stage here. On a statewide, the median single family price right now is $412,000, and this is as of February 2026. That's actually down by 1% from a year ago. Now, some of you may be really excited thinking that the housing market is crashing in Florida in the single family category, and that's really technically not true. I mean, yes, prices are somewhat down, but we're not talking about 20% here. If we look at the all-time high, which was in April of 2024 at $430,000, we're just 4% from that. We're absolutely experiencing much more of a correction. Of course, you're going to want to look at local data also. Inventory is a good conversation to have, because if inventory is increasing, then that is not good on prices. New listings are coming up at around 30,000 in February, and that's actually down by 10% from last year. So there's less new listings on the market, and I really think it's because a lot of the sellers who were rushing to the market when they were thinking the market was crashing, many of them are pulling their homes off the market because they just were expecting too high prices, and instead of selling, they're just going to wait for a better time to sell. Now, months of supply of inventory for single family homes is sitting at about 4.8 months of supply. And just to give you some idea of what that means, in a balanced market, we're really looking at 5.5 to 6 months of supply. But right now we're below that, which is telling me that sellers still have an edge in the single family space. It depends on the location we're looking at in Florida, so this is just on a statewide basis. No indication of a crash here. If the months of supply was just going up and going up past the 6, 7, 8 months time period, I mean, what it's basically telling us is that there are way more sellers on the market versus buyers, and that's when we do see substantial price changes in the market. But now here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Condo market has really taken a hit since the SARASOTA bill was passed a few years ago, which is posing mandates on those buildings that are 3 stories and higher and also older. Those have definitely seen much more of a price change. Buyers are adding in the risk now in purchasing a condo, especially in an association where the budget isn't fully funded. Median condo prices right now is $309,000, which is down 2% versus same time last year. And so if you're somebody that's looking to sell a condo, you're going to have to price right. And if you're somebody that's looking to purchase a condo, there's a lot of opportunities right now, especially if you know how to go through the financial statements, the reserve study. Sellers are much more motivated. A lot of them do need to unload their condo, partially because they might not be able to pay off the higher assessment fees or just condo fees in general. If you know what you're doing, I think there's a lot of opportunities right now. We need to start off with national data, and then you also have to always look at the local data. And the best way to kind of understand why we need to look at national first is because it really is letting us know how the tide is turning. The statewide numbers tell us the direction where the whole market is moving. Buyers purchasing more because they're reacting to mortgage rates decreases. But once you get to a local level, it's like actually understanding how the waves look. Some areas may be doing much better versus others. And I'm just going to give you a quick example here. We look at Sarasota County, not Sarasota, but Sarasota County, which is comprised of a few cities. The single family median is $475,000, so quite a bit higher than the statewide median, but it's actually down by 5% year over year. Condos are at $330,000 and they're down by 3.5%. It's interesting that condos didn't go down as much as the single family home category in February, but we've taken a major hit in the condo section in Sarasota County last year. So that's starting to get a little bit more balanced out now. Sarasota is somewhat struggling, but at the same time, when we start looking at unit sales in January and February, that's actually up. The assumption that we're making right now is that there's pent up demand, and depending on what happens in the macro environment, it could jumpstart the Sarasota County real estate market yet again. Now let's talk a little bit about the homeowners insurance costs, because that definitely will eat into your budget if you don't really understand how it kind of all works and which homes are most susceptible to higher homeowners insurance costs. Regardless, if you're somebody that's in the market to purchase a home, you're always going to want to try to get a quote before you go under contract, or at the very least during the inspection period. That way you have a better idea of what to budget for. Insurance costs can vary depending on the age of the house, the location of the house, previous flooding or not. Is it in an X flood zone and an AE flood zone? And it's not unheard of that some people are paying $10,000, $15,000 in homeowners insurance costs, right? Of course, it also depends on the size of the house. And that's not even counting flood insurance on top of that. Florida has a little bit of a dirty secret here, because the state represented about 8% of homeowners insurance claims nationally, but was generating, and this is really kind of crazy here, nearly 80% of all insurance lawsuits in the entire country. But everything is getting much more balanced, as it should be, and Florida has done a lot of work towards passing major tort reforms since 2022 and 2023. Right now, what we're seeing is that some of the carriers are actually lowering their prices, especially Citizens Insurance, which is the state's insurer of last resort. They just approved a price reduction of about 8.7%, decrease statewide. And so in places such as Miami-Dade and Broward, for example, these are areas that were historically hit harder because of hurricanes. Maybe that's not true as of the last few years, because it seems like it's been hitting the Southwest Florida region much more. But homeowners are starting to see cuts at around 14%. And also Citizens, the number of policies has shrunk from 1.3 million to now around 400,000. What that's basically telling us is that private carriers are coming in, they're coming back to the market. So this is all really good news. Of course, the homeowners insurance market is certainly not fixed. It is definitely still somewhat broken, but just a little bit less than it was a few years ago, and so good news there. But now here's the elephant in the room, and this is something that a lot of you are probably thinking about, worrying about, not understanding what to do when it comes to real estate, and that is the war in Iran. So as of February 28th, the US and Israel launched military strikes against Iran. If you're thinking that war is just in the Middle East and doesn't have anything to do with Florida, well, that's not really true, because the impact is going to be seen throughout the entire world, not just in the US. First of all, 20% of the world's oil supply passes through the Straits of Hormuz every single day. And so if they can't pass as easily anymore, or not at all, right now it's disrupted, energy prices spike globally. And energy is fueling a lot of things. Production of furniture, of course, transportation. When energy prices spike, inflation goes up. And when inflation goes up, the Federal Reserve typically can't cut interest rates. And so that certainly could impact mortgage interest rates, either staying where it's at or going higher. And that's going to have a ripple effect in the US housing market and in Florida, of course. The other option here is that we're in a stagflation type of scenario where we have high inflation, but the market isn't growing. This is going to be a worse type of scenario, because it's indicative of an economy that's not growing, high unemployment, and then also prices that are going up. That will have much more of an impact onto the housing market. Nobody has a crystal ball. There's a lot of different ways this could play out. The next 60 to 90 days are going to provide us with a lot more clarity, because right now we're just guesstimating in terms of the Iran war and how long it's going to take. We'll have a good idea whether we're going to be staying in this war for months to come, maybe even years to come, or if this was truly just an in and out. And that's going to have an impact on the economy. That's going to have an impact on the housing market and how sellers and buyers will react. Well, what does that all mean for you? If you're a buyer, there's certainly opportunities right now, especially in the condo market. But Make sure that you're going through the financials, get your insurance quotes way before even putting an offer in, and don't overextend in today's environment. If you're a seller in the single family home market right now, you still have some edge, but price accordingly because buyers do have way more options than they did 3 years ago. Now, if you're just on the fence whether to buy or sell, I would actually just hold off for the next 30 to 90 days because I really believe that, especially with the Iran situation, we're going to get a lot more clarity, and that clarity is going to enable you to decide whether you should wait on buying or selling, or if you should actually head into the market maybe sometime in the summer. Thank you so much for watching today. Leave me a comment in the comment section and let me know what Florida market you're currently watching, which city. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a great day.